The starship Elysium drifted silently through the void, its sleek metallic hull glinting under the light of a distant sun. Aboard the ship, the crew of the Intergalactic Exploration Unit moved with purpose, their footsteps echoing softly in the sterile corridors. Among them was Zynara, a xenobiologist from the planet Xytheris, a species known for their advanced intellect and unique reproductive biology. Zynara was tall, her skin a shimmering iridescent blue, with elongated limbs and delicate, translucent tendrils that cascaded from her scalp like living hair. Her large, almond-shaped eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, reflecting her curiosity and focus. She had spent the last 3 Earth years studying various species across the galaxy, but humans had always fascinated her the most. Their emotional complexity, their resilience, and their inexplicable ability to thrive in the most hostile environments made them a subject of endless intrigue. Today, however, was different. Today, she would finally meet one in person. The Elysium had picked up a distress signal from a small human vessel adrift in the asteroid belt of a nearby star system. The crew had rescued the lone occupant, a human male named Captain Elias Grant. He was now recovering in the medical bay, and Zynara had been assigned to assess his health and gather data on human physiology. As she approached the medical bay, Zynara felt a strange flutter in her chest. It was an unfamiliar sensation, one she couldn't quite place. She dismissed it as excitement and stepped through the sliding doors. Captain Grant lay on the medical bed, his broad frame dwarfing the narrow cot. His skin was a warm tan, his dark hair tousled, and a faint stubble covered his jaw. He was unconscious, his chest rising and falling steadily as the ship's medical AI monitored his vitals. Zynara approached cautiously, her tendrils twitching with curiosity. She began her examination, using a handheld scanner to record his biometric data. As she leaned closer to inspect a minor wound on his arm, her hand brushed against his skin. The moment her fingers made contact, a jolt of energy surged through her body, and her mating indicator, a bioluminescent patch on her wrist, flared to life, glowing a vivid, pulsating violet. Zynara froze, her eyes widening in shock. The mating indicator was a biological mechanism unique to her species, designed to signal compatibility with a potential mate. It had never activated before, not even when she had interacted with members of her own kind. And yet, here it was, glowing brightly in response to a human. She stumbled back, her mind racing. This was impossible. Humans and Xytherians were entirely different species, separated by millions of years of evolution. There was no logical explanation for this reaction. And yet, the evidence was undeniable. Before she could process what had happened, Captain Grant stirred, his eyes fluttering open. He groaned softly, his gaze landing on Zynara. For a moment, he simply stared at her, his expression a mix of confusion and awe. "Are you an angel?" he murmured, his voice rough but warm. Zynara blinked, her tendrils curling in embarrassment. "I am Zynara, a xenobiologist from Xytheris. You are aboard the starship Elysium. We rescued you from your vessel." Elias propped himself up on his elbows, wincing slightly. "Right. The asteroid belt. I remember now." He glanced at her wrist, where the mating indicator still glowed faintly. "What's that?" Zynara quickly covered the patch with her other hand, her cheeks flushing a deeper shade of blue. "It is nothing. A biological response. It is of no concern." Elias raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Instead he smiled, his expression softening. "Well, Zynara, I owe you my life. Thank you." The sincerity in his voice sent another wave of warmth through her, and she found herself struggling to maintain her composure. "It is my duty to ensure the well-being of all sentient beings," she replied stiffly, though her voice wavered slightly. Over the next few days, Zynara found herself drawn to Elias in ways she couldn't explain. She continued her observations, recording his behavior and interactions with the crew, but her focus often strayed to the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, or the deep timbre of his laughter. She told herself it was purely scientific interest, but deep down she knew it was more than that. Elias, for his part, seemed equally intrigued by her. He asked endless questions about her species, her home planet, and her work. They spent hours talking, their conversations ranging from the mundane to the profound. Zynara found herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone else, sharing stories and thoughts she had kept buried for years. One evening, as they sat together in the observation deck, watching the stars streak by, Elias turned to her. "Zynara, can I ask you something?" She nodded, her tendrils swaying gently. "Of course. That thing on your wrist. It's not just a biological response, is it?" Zynara hesitated, her heart pounding. She had hoped he wouldn't bring it up again, but she knew she couldn't avoid the truth forever. "No," she admitted softly. "It is a mating indicator. It activated when I touched you." Elias's eyes widened in surprise. "Wait, so you're saying we're compatible?" "It would seem so," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Though I do not understand how. Our species are so different." Elias reached out, his hand hovering just above hers. "Maybe it's not about biology," he said gently. "Maybe it's about something deeper. Something that transcends species." Zynara looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and warmth there. For the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility that this connection was real, that it meant something. Slowly, she placed her hand in his, the mating indicator flaring brightly once more. In that moment, something shifted between them. The barriers of species and biology seemed to melt away, leaving only the raw, unfiltered connection of two souls recognizing each other. They leaned in, their foreheads touching, and for the first time, Zynara felt a sense of belonging she had never known. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. Zynara and Elias grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing moment. The crew of the Elysium noticed the change, but no one commented. It was clear that what they had was special, something rare and beautiful. But their happiness was short-lived. The Elysium received a distress call from Xytheris. A catastrophic event had occurred on the planet, and all available personnel were needed to assist. Zynara knew she had to go, but the thought of leaving Elias behind was unbearable. "Come with me," she pleaded, her tendrils trembling with emotion. "I cannot bear to be apart from you." Elias cupped her face in his hands, his expression filled with love and determination. "I'll follow you anywhere, Zynara. You're my home now." Together, they traveled to Xytheris, where they worked side by side to help rebuild and heal. Their love became a beacon of hope, a symbol of unity and understanding between species. And though their journey was not without challenges, they faced them together, their bond unbreakable. Years later, as they stood on the surface of Xytheris, watching the twin suns set in a blaze of color, Zynara turned to Elias. "Do you ever wonder why the mating indicator chose you?" she asked softly.